Thank you very much again for adding to the importance of this week by releasing this report. I'm glad that every year IFPRI and associates are bringing about this hunger index. There are different viewpoints on how it can be used, but the fact that this year, as Dr. Rado said, there has been a little emphasis on the impact of price volatility and also climate change in terms of hunger, persistence of hunger. That's very important because in the political arena, many of you know only too well that price volatility has assumed great significance because related to food inflation related to public concern, public unrest, and so on. A whole series of downstream impact is there as a result of. The fact that volatility has become an important issue is also clear from two other reports which have been commissioned this year. One by the G20 nations, they have already got their report a few months ago. The other is the Committee on Food Security of the UN. They have a high-level panel of experts which I happen to chair. The first two reports we have produced is also one on price volatility and food security. They are available. Formally, this will be discussed at the Committee on Food Security meeting in Rome coming week. The two reports, one is land tenure and international investment in agriculture, how the, what you may call land rush, land grab, what its impact is going to be in African food security. That's a very important area. The Oxfam has also produced an excellent report on the subject recently. May I say that from the figures for this year, as was pointed out, there are some promising features. You know, we always in these rooms we deal with figures, but I think unless you put faces before figures, there won't be proper action. It's important. It's very easy for us. It has come down slightly, but how many million children? How many million children's future and so on. So, from the point of view of a humanistic point of view, we can't allow any. The world is not, as was mentioned yesterday, is not one. Now let me take my own region, South Asia, which you have presented. South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa are supposed to be the major hunger hotspots of the world. There are a large number of undernourished children, women and men live. If you look at the composition of progress, you find under 5 mortality rate is decreasing. There are 3 components. The under 5 mortality rate, the component, its contribution to hunger is getting more and more reduced. But the prevalence of under 5, underweight, as well as the overall portion of undernourished, they are going up. When you study that, it's important to look at which of the 3 components is getting important, which getting solved, where do we make progress and so on. I'm not surprised that under 5 mortality rates going down largely because of very extensive humanization these days. There was major diseases which were common before in terms of killing. There are effective vaccines. If your vaccination is successful, you can control many of them. And this is a very important medical. But on the other hand, undernourishment continues. The baby survives, but the fact remains. That's why the underweight doesn't go down. There's a problem of survival. Same, formerly I remember when I was young, very large number of children used to die, and even my own household, as a result of diarrhea infection. Then came the oral rehydration therapy, which completely at least saved the children from dying. So everywhere the medical advances are coming to the help of reducing infant mortality. But on the other hand, under 5 underweight, as well as the general prevalence of undernutrition, these are multiple causes. There is, usually we say, economic access to food. Among the three different forms of access to food, the physical access today is not so bad. All the world also is not bad. There is available. But the economic access, the one which is greatly influenced by price volatility, which has a great impact. Thirdly, the more neglected component of food security is the absorption of food in the body, which is a function of clean drinking water, sanitation, primary health care, and nutrition literacy and so on. In fact, where I live, in Tamil Nadu in India, we have some of the most progressive policies, social support policy. the ICDS, Integrated Child Development Service in India, started looking at health, nutrition and education in its totality. That's why it's called Integrated Child Nutrition Service. Started as early as 1976, but still our mortality rate and so on is very high. There are many school noon meal program was started in Tamil Nadu long ago, before the rest of India, in the early 70s and so on. In spite of very many social support systems, you find that still you are not making a dent on the problem because something is missing, For example, we have done jointly, Shengan knows, along with the World Food Programme in my foundation. We have very detailed analysis of food insecurity in rural India, urban India. Those atlases are available. We have updated them. A state like Tamil Nadu shows great progress in many areas. But on the other hand, some things like toilets, sanitation, that causes the problem because not inadequate calories and so on. So in relation to public action and public policy, it is important to disaggregate the factors which are responsible for it. For example, here in the last part you mentioned so many factors including the biofuel, financial activity of futures, markets and so on. In fact, in our report, the HLP report, High Level Panel of Experts Committee on Food Security, we have also emphasized the great importance of the markets today, the futures markets, the amount of speculation. You see the figure he gave, the volume of corn traded is 3 times the volume of total production in the world. That means there's a lot of speculative trading which is going on. Those are to be, in fact, there where the political will is there, it can be curbed. It cannot be. Some of them can be done by political action. Some of them can be done only by education, mass education, nutritional literacy. In my country, I think it's very important in many areas. Nutritional literacy is important. For example, small iron iodine. There are so many small ways. IFPRI has also pointed out, and we have actually found, a small combination like moringa, is a drumstick as you call it, plus millet, provides almost all the macro and micronutrients which you require. These are locally available, very available. And that's why we have started in my foundation what we call the Community Hunger Fighters Training Program. One woman and one male member in every village where there are problems, in terms of trying to train them how to fight with local grains, with local material water. Lastly, in the social support, I must also say, this kind of index, what today we are saying, talking about this global hunger index, has been very valuable. For example, we are currently in India almost at the end of a process for introducing an act of parliament called National Food Security Bill, which makes food a right-based approach, not a political patronage-based approach, but a right-based, becomes a legal right to 35 kilograms of wheat, rice, and we have enlarged the food basket to include a whole series of, we have changed the name from coarse cereal to Nutri cereals. In other words, Panicum, Paspalum, Ceteria. You have got so many of them. They are all very good, very good. Somehow the coarse cereal gives the impression they are somewhat inferior to wheat and rice. So to change that image, so the food basket, I want to conclude before further, we have short time. The 3 major aspects of this, which have, I would say, IFPRI studies have helped us in many, that's why I want to mention. The first is the enlargement of the food basket. It is also important in the context of climate change, because many of the others, millets, what we call coarse cereals, much more climate resilient crops. They don't require so much of irrigation and so on. So in an era of climate change, their importance will grow, apart from the fact they are nutritious and so on. The second is, we have broken the ICDS, Integrated Child Development Service, into 2 time segments. One is the first 1,000 days opportunity, which you call it the 1,000 days opportunity. That is from the mother's womb plus 2 more years. Because all our analysis of ICDS showed that the major problem was that the first 2 years of the child, you cannot reach them because they don't come to a daycare center or something. They can be reached only to the mother. And therefore the realignment. And thirdly, in our food security bill, apart from legal entitlement, you have those who play all the case of the whole household, we have been formally giving the household what we call a title, ration card or something. Invariably it intended to be in the name of the man. The male was the household, male household. For this act, it has been changed. It will be only women will be recognized as the heads of household from the point of view of food entitlements. This is to ensure that the food goes to the children, it is used for the purpose for which it is given and so on. So this kind of analysis, what I'm trying to say, when you develop a legislation, a lot of help comes from this kind of analysis, IFPRI's own studies, apart from Hunger Index, many other studies and so on. And so I want to compliment IFPRI and the two associated organizations for continuing this exercise and also for releasing a report here in the World Food Week. Thank you.